So this will help those local agencies that are on the front lines, get that information before, you get a bunch of preschoolers nervous about where they're going to go that day.
And Mark, what do you think about this idea of the governor's?
Well, first of all, the FDLE, Florida Department of Law Enforcement, has taken on more and more activities over the past few years. And Rick Swearingen, who's the current head, I actually know him. I work with him once on the governor's staff. He's a very, very bright guy. So what they're going to do is they're going to take 7 district offices, do a lot of intel, and then serve as a liaison between the federal agencies and the local agencies, and perhaps have a better feel for things that are going on. Let me also add that this package, which is about $5.8 million, is in addition to another $12 million that the governor proposed to give a law enforcement raise to all law enforcement officers in Florida. So Governor Scott is really tied into really beefing up law enforcement in Florida.
Yeah, Barry, do you think that hiring these 46 people and spending the $6 million and creating these 7 districts across the state, that's going to help fight terrorism?
Absolutely. I think that I applaud the governor for this, and luckily we were able to go to his press conference yesterday when he launched it here in Tampa. And one of my clients, Senator Rasan, talked to him about adding as one of the priorities, looking at like the Martin Luther King Parade's coming up. We have 100,000 people at 3 events in Tampa Bay, or the NCAA National Championship. There's a lot of events that people are vulnerable, and having these people able to coordinate, like Noah was talking about, the multiple jurisdictions. Nobody's really doing that right now. Who's talking with the sheriff, making sure they're talking to the police, making sure they're talking to the FDLE and the FBI. This one group that can kind of coordinate all of that to make sure we're a little safer. $5.8 million, that $80 billion budget. One crisis, it is worth it.
There are a couple things we do need to point out. One, you mentioned the governor's press conference yesterday. He had 4 press conferences this week to announce this. So I think we want our politicians to act and not necessarily tell everyone that they need to pat them on the back for these things. 4 press conferences in a week for the same issue seems a little excessive. It's also worth pointing out that the governor probably needs to take the lead in the next few months, and we've said this year after year, in giving other important state employees a raise, because it's been 10 years now since there's been an across-the-board pay raise for first responders, firefighters, probation officers, prison workers. The pay is so low at the state level that they're losing these people. The turnover and recruiting is a big issue, and that's suffering in a lot of places in the state. So these 46 jobs are great, but there are thousands that need the legislature and governor's attention.
I echo that, and for law enforcement too. If you talk to the state attorneys, an average state attorney coming out of law school with all that debt, I think makes like $41,000 or $42,000 in Tampa or St. Petersburg. The secretaries in these offices make $20,000, $25,000. So there's a massive turnover, which is not good for law enforcement. So across the board,
prison guards make in the low 30s,
and which is why we have a crisis not only for the prisoners but also for the guards, because they're underfunded, undertrained.
But I'm wondering if these terrorist incidents that we're seeing are gun related. There's no legislation to cut back on AR-15 style rifles or anything like that in Tallahassee.
And the governor, in fact, it looks like this year, unless people write in or call their legislators, and mostly the Republican legislators need to get the calls, is Senator Stubbe looks like he's on track this year to get his open carry bill and a campus carry bill. And campus is just, you have drugs, alcohol, and hormones, a bad scenario.
I just want to make a point that the legislature is probably the key to this, because last year, before the Orlando incident, they had a bill called Andy's Law that was an anti-terrorism bill, passed all the committees, and the speaker never allowed it on the floor and never got a vote. So it's got to be, for this to even happen, you got to have the legislature on board.
Okay. Well, Florida Senator Marco Rubio joined 50 other Senate Republicans this week to begin the process of dismantling the Affordable Care Act.